wanted to take a moment to note the passing of Don Cornelius, the creator of Soul Train. He died today in Los Angeles.
He threw a greasy chicken wing at his head, and that moment nearly destroyed Soul Train forever. What happened next was too wild to air, but today we're telling the story they tried to bury. It was more than a TV show. It was a movement, a rhythm, a revolution. Soul Train didn't just entertain, it empowered. It gave Black America a stage, a voice, and a reason to smile every Saturday morning. But behind the flashing lights and iconic dance lines was a darker truth, one that producers tried desperately to keep off the record. Why was one infamous moment never aired? What pushed a beloved dancer to throw food at the show's legendary creator? And how did it all lead to the collapse of one of the most important shows in television history? Let's rewind to a moment of music, culture, and chaos. She launched a greasy chicken wing straight at Don Cornelius's head. That's not a joke. That happened. And not just to anyone, but to the man who created Soul Train. That moment was so explosive, so unexpected, that producers tried to bury it forever. Not just because it was wild, but because it revealed something much darker about what was happening behind the scenes. The dancer was Rosie Perez. Yes, that Rosie Perez, who would later go on to become a Hollywood star. But back then, she was just a girl with fire in her heart and moves that lit up the Soul Train dance floor. Don Cornelius allegedly told her to dance in a way she wasn't comfortable with. She said no. He pushed. Things escalated, and all Rosie had to defend herself. A soggy, two-piece fried chicken dinner the show gave dancers instead of actual pay. That's when she snapped. Chicken, thrown. Cornelius hit square in the face. That moment, raw, greasy, chaotic, never made it to air, and no one in the studio ever spoke about it again. At least not on the record. Why? Because it revealed the truth behind the glamorous image of Soul Train. An image built on power, pressure, and silence. And once you hear the rest of what was happening backstage, that flying chicken wing will feel like the least shocking part of the story. From the outside, Soul Train was electric. Dancers with unforgettable moves, celebrities grooving on stage, Black culture celebrated in full color. It looked like joy, but behind that joy was something else. Many of the dancers weren't paid, not hourly, not per episode, not even a stipend. Some said they were given nothing but exposure, and, if they were lucky, a box of Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's right. The sweat, the talent, the energy that built the entire Soul Train brand was paid for in grease and biscuits. And if you wanted more than your 2 minutes in front of the camera, you had to fight for it. Literally. Dancers were pitted against each other. You want that front row spot near the stage? Then you better outshine, or outscheme, the person next to you. It wasn't just about dancing. It was about survival. The competition was intense. The favoritism was real, and the pressure, unrelenting. And it gets worse. There were rumors, whispers that Don Cornelius, who was married at the time, had inappropriate relationships with some of the young dancers. The Los Angeles Times later reported on allegations that added fuel to a fire that had smoldered for years. Suddenly, Soul Train didn't look like a celebration. It looked like a cover-up. A slick, stylish package hiding serious exploitation. But no one dared talk. Why? Because this was the only national Black music show on television. Speaking out didn't just risk your spot. It could mean the end of your career before it even began. And still, they danced. Because Soul Train was hope, visibility, a chance, even if it came with a price. What most fans never knew was that Soul Train wasn't just a dance show. It was a battlefield. Behind the music, behind the smiles, and behind those iconic Soul Train lines, dancers were fighting a quiet, relentless war. And no, not with each other over talent. They were fighting for visibility, for respect, and for basic recognition. Producers didn't hire professionals. They pulled kids off the street, regular teens and 20-somethings with style, attitude, and rhythm. But once they were on the show, it became clear. If you wanted screen time, you had to fight for it, literally. There were no assigned spots, no guarantees, just competition. If you didn't outdance, outdress, or outflirt the person next to you, you faded into the background. And in Soul Train terms, that meant you might as well not exist. Some dancers told stories of people clawing for riser positions, elbowing their way toward the center just to get 3 seconds of camera time. Why? Because that was the only currency they had. You weren't getting paid, you were getting seen. And that visibility? It was everything. One move caught on camera could lead to a commercial, a tour, or a shot at stardom. That was the unspoken contract. We won't pay you, but if you're lucky, the world might notice you. But luck wasn't always enough, because favoritism ran deep. And one man, Don Cornelius, controlled the whole system. If he liked you, you shined. If he didn't, you disappeared. And for the dancers caught in the middle, the ones who weren't favorites, but weren't ready to give up, the stress was real. Some broke down. Others gave up. A few fought harder. Because when there's only one stage, and you've got 1,000 dreams to prove, you'll do anything to stay in the spotlight. Don Cornelius was a legend, no doubt. He created something no one else had the vision, courage, or swagger to pull off. Soul Train was his baby, but like many geniuses, he didn't share power easily. He had the voice, the cool, the suit, the baritone goodbye, love, peace, and soul. But behind the charm was a man who kept a tight grip on his empire. He micromanaged everything, from the lighting to the camera angles to how performers lip-synced. That's right, if you missed a line, even slightly, he made you do it again. Didn't matter who you were. Don wasn't just about style, he was about control. And that control extended to the dance floor. He loved style, he loved soul. But when hip-hop started creeping into the mainstream, Don froze. He didn't get it, didn't like it, didn't want it. He once told rapper Curtis Blow that he just couldn't relate. He admitted Public Enemy scared him, and East Coast dance styles? Too raw, too suggestive, too much. Rosie Perez, who later choreographed for Janet Jackson, said Cornelius hated her dance routines, said they were too aggressive, too loud, too Brooklyn. But here's the thing, hip-hop was the future, and while the culture was evolving fast, Soul Train was stuck. Stuck in an era where funk reigned, soul was polished, and the groove never got too wild. It was Cornelius's show, and he wanted it clean, classy, controlled. So even when hip-hop artists finally got invited, and yes, they did show up, the energy felt off. Like the show was holding its breath, hoping it could pass as something it didn't quite understand. The irony? Don Cornelius was once the rebel, the risk-taker, the one who fought Dick Clark, and won. But now, as hip-hop took over the charts, Don found himself becoming exactly what he once challenged. A gatekeeper clinging to the past. And the dancers felt it, the audience felt it, and worst of all, the ratings felt it. Soul Train versus hip-hop, a culture clash. As the 80s and 90s brought in the golden age of hip-hop, Soul Train had a decision to make. Evolve or resist. Cornelius resisted. He didn't understand hip-hop, and he admitted it. Artists like Public Enemy made him uncomfortable. He felt disconnected from the East Coast sound and didn't approve of the bolder, more suggestive dance styles. Even Rosie Perez claimed he disliked her East Coast choreography. He eventually gave in because hip-hop was too big to ignore. But his heart was no longer in it. The show changed, and longtime fans could feel it. By the early 2000s, Soul Train was on life support. Nielsen ratings fell below 1.0. Stations started airing the show at random hours, midnight, 2 a.m., when no one was watching. In 2006, after 35 seasons, production stopped. They tried rebranding old clips as The Best of Soul Train, but it didn't work. The spark was gone. Then, Tribune Entertainment, responsible for distribution, shut down. Without syndication, the train stopped running. But not before one final twist. Rewind to 1973. ABC launched a suspiciously similar show, Soul Unlimited, created by Dick Clark. Cornelius saw it for what it was, a blatant copy. He teamed up with Jesse Jackson, called it out, and fought to protect Soul Train as the only Black-owned, nationally syndicated show. The pressure worked. Soul Unlimited was canceled in weeks. But the message was clear. Cornelius didn't just protect the brand, he protected Black ownership on television. Soul Train wasn't just flashy lights and funky moves. It was a lifeline, a mirror, a cultural pulse. It gave millions of viewers a place to feel seen, heard, celebrated. It launched careers, created icons, and turned everyday dancers into legends. Even today, that energy lives on, in memes, in TikToks, in fashion trends, and in every Soul Train line at a wedding. Don Cornelius may be gone. The original show may be off the air. But the soul, that never left. So, as Don always said, we wish you love, peace, and soul. Do you think a show like Soul Train could work in today's world? Would it survive TikTok, compete with YouTube, or would it be something totally new? Drop your thoughts in the comments.